The week that was for February 23rd, 2025. Your Sunday recap. Paul Shaughnessy, obviously. Cody Safdie here. It was a roller coaster. Roller coaster for me. From the highs of Jacek Jock, one of the most hilarious finishes of the weekend, taking on a guy who legitimately I had to watch like tape of him fighting in like hay barrels. Turns out the guy who fought in hay barrels couldn't grapple. Shocker. So there was that. I mean, the UFC card was an absolute nightmare, which is what we're going to spend the primary amount of time here talking about. Times in the Discord with all the crew there. It was a great night in there. There's some people winning, but I think, for myself, like my outside of Rob Font, I got absolutely smoked. But yeah, being in there, kind of yucking it up, making fun of yourself a little bit for some of the. It was a crazy night of fights. There were a lot of results that we're going to obviously talk about right now. That's like, if you had that exact way for this fight to end, good on you, because there was some crazy stuff that went on. Cody, how are you?
Oh yeah, I am absolutely decimated. In the sense that I had my own card, Thick Boy Fight Night 6 on Saturday. So like weigh-ins was, I'm gonna say disastrous. Just there's 21 fights on the card, so I'm chasing around 42 guys and then making sure their medicals are in and making sure they're on weight, and one guy misses and his opponent doesn't want to take the fight anymore, and then it's just like one thing after another. And then physically Saturday night is the fights. I didn't get to watch any of them live because of course I'm at my own fights. And then we got like 3 days before the show, the doctor canceled. So they're like, you need like a doctor ringside. You can't have these fights. So we got like a last minute doctor. And this lady was like my mom, dude. She had a nose on her like a fucking German shepherd. So right away, she's like, y'all are smoking weed in this building and I'm going to call the fire marshal. Like, all right, don't. And then the fight ends. Both fighters have to see her. Okay. The next fight can't start until she is free to watch the fight. This is how it works. She's so just like, do the test again. Let me see your eye again. Let me check your blood pressure again. That's like, now all of a sudden there's like 10 minutes between every fight. And it's her. So sure enough, I get a guy fucking melted. Like, it wasn't my fault. Like, it was a fine matchup. It wasn't like it was a mismatch. He got absolutely vaporized.
I gotta go.
Oh, look at Paul. And he's not even using his little kid's boot. He's using a Skechers, which is leaking through both sides because they got good airflow in those things.
Bad selection. As bad of a selection as Andreas Michailidis. Sorry to cut you off there. I know people get mad when I cut you off, but I was literally, these shoes were not made. They were made for walking. They were not made for drinking.
I was hoping to bank them up on you because you already owed me one, and then that was 2, and I was going to get you to like, enough that I could get you hammered for a show one of these days. But I appreciate you hitting that one up. Andre Michailidis, not to be trusted. But again, the guy got really badly KO'd. They had to stretcher him out, and that took 45 minutes because this lady insisted on filling out a full report and jumping in the ambulance with him and talking to the paramedics. So I got home at 4 a.m. I'm like, really good fights, but just exhausted. And then I woke up this morning, watched the UFC card. As Paul mentioned, the regionals were good to us this week. LFA went smoothly. Paul had a killer bet over in the KSW side of things. BYB Denver, we swept that one. A nice 4-for-4. Wednesday night boxing.
Last night. Thank you for that, Cody.
No, all good.
And the boxing too. That was huge.
And the boxing as well. We did good Wednesday boxing and then Saturday boxing as well over in Riyadh. We hit a couple decent over-under. But one of them, it was like fight of the year. Both those guys could have died. But the over 10.5 did hit, baby. What's up?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, though, we're in the business of like, the biggest product that we break down is obviously UFC, and that's where the most interest is. So it's always tough when you don't hit a top ticket. It's always tough when your props don't quite fall in line. But we were right about one thing, Paul. This was going to be dog city. We just weren't necessarily on all of the right dogs. So Let's jump into it.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about like us breaking down all this other stuff and betting on all this other stuff is like you can get killed on the UFC, and it's just like, well, I'm not completely dead yet. You have a lot of other outs, a lot of other ways to like my week was a complete roller coaster. Probably ended up breaking even by the end of it. Started out good with some regionals. UFC was absolutely awful. Boxing lifted all ties. Sorry, I'm still kind of burping. That was a messy one. But yeah, speaking of messy ones, let's get into the UFC card. Here we've got Modestas Bukauskas, Rafael Cerqueira. The thing coming into this fight that we kind of thought about is like, well, Modestas isn't typically some sort of big power puncher. He drags out his opponents. He's a little bit more of a technician. Well, turns out if you're taking on Rafael Cerqueira, it don't matter. It don't matter. This guy's either kill or be killed. And at this level, Cerqueira's a killed kind of guy. I would be pretty surprised if they give Cerqueira a third shot here. Would you? Or what do you
I
think?
would be surprised because he's obviously ballooned up record, lost twice now, both times by knockout, both times in the first round. What do you do with him? But the UFC may cling on to a guy like this for no other reason than sit him on the shelves for 6 months, 8 months. And if they got some returning fighter or some guy in a 3-fight skid or some guy that's hot in some certain market, this is the guy you bring in for him. Physically, he looks fine. When we saw him at weigh-ins, it's like he don't look 34. And physically, he's in good shape. He's a big enough guy, but like he just don't got it. He don't got it. And it's not one of those things where it's like he is kill or be killed. His own offense is just not good. Like I wouldn't say he's a big power puncher as much as he can beat one guys on the regional scene. Over in the UFC, he's been just largely brought out of his depth. Against Aslan, you give him a pass. Ibo's kind of a power puncher, I suppose. In this case, it's not that Bukauskas isn't a power puncher. It's that for him to just annihilate you that quickly, you've got just big deficiencies. And at 34, they ain't getting better. So I would say he's likely cut. Small possibility they keep him around just to help somebody else. But I think they'll just do him the favor and get rid of him altogether. And then for Bukauskas, this is a sweet little win, right? You hardly broke a sweat. Gets a solid victory, keeps moving up, keeps getting paid, and keeps going. In hindsight, Bukauskas was the pick of the week. Like this guy he's fighting is a tomato can, but just nobody loves.
Came inside the distance was minus 120. I had in some like parlay stuff, but like I didn't actually lay the wood on a big play. I don't know.
I wish
like,
I
looking back on it now, it's like that was literally the like you would have started out a card with just like free money in your pocket, which is always feeling nice.
Feeling nice. And then again, and we'll jump over the Ruziboev fight right away after that. But it's like those were two guys that were, moderate size favorites, let's say, that there was a little bit of uncertainty just because, Ruziboev fights so recklessly and Modestas Bukauskas is just really not all that good. But yeah, if you would have just started your night off with those two chalk plays, bang, bang, both of them made it look really easy, I thought.
Yep. McConico, Ruziboev, as you were saying. I mean, McConico never really got going. Like, there was really not much going on for him. He was obviously seemed kind of scared of, and who wouldn't be, I guess, but of the power coming back from Ruzi. Like, McConico threw 5 punches over the course of, 5.5 minutes. It wasn't competitive. It wasn't close. And, like, while I was watching, as somebody with a McConico round 3, I bet him round 3 sub at 50 to 1. I threw a little like $20 or $40 sprinkle on it, I was just like, the problem with this fight is that they are not fighting at a pace that's going to slow Ruzi down here. Like there wasn't really any, and then obviously McConico goes into his corner and they're like, you've got to do something. And then by doing something, he gets killed pretty much instantly. Yeah, it was we'll see what McConico can do from here, but he got like it was not remotely competitive. He looked all of a regional fighter compared to Ruziboev.
Yeah, I'm glad I stuck with the Ruziboev pick on that one because for a guy that has so many salty regional show wins where he's just smashing cans in the first round, like he doesn't look that bad. Like, he's got a lot of bad looking wins against guys that should have been in there with them, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he's got a legitimate skill set and he's huge. Why he fought at 170, don't know how, don't know why. But at 185, he's a little more filled out. Obviously, the gas tank probably shouldn't be as much of an issue. But for Eric McConico, we broke him down at length and how much we love this guy on the tough enough Las Vegas regionals against Buddy Wallace. Buddy Wallace is 5'9". Buddy Wallace has a 69-inch reach. Ruziboev's 6'5", right? His reach is 7 inches longer than Buddy Wallace. You were supposed to fight a midget of a man. Should say midget. Buddy Wallace is my size, so I just mean in comparison, right? I'm not middleweight. You go from fighting that guy to all of a sudden Ruziboev. Yeah, it just seems like he is taking the fight on a week's notice. He's not prepared for a guy that is this tall, this long. And again, Joaquin Buckley, very athletic and able to kind of dart side to side, pick angles, and then shoot takedowns. And McConico didn't really have that in his bag of tricks. He's serviceable. But again, at 34, I don't see like massive improvements out of him. He needs to just be a guy that's taking on someone who's also going to be fighting at a slow-ish pace, his size, his experience level, let's say. But Ruziboev is a freak of proportions, and he just was not able to figure out those proportions. So solid. It's honestly a solid win for Big Ruzi, in that it's not a named opponent. It's that he looked good. He looked comfortable at 185 pounds. I don't think the ceiling is super, super high, but he's going to win plenty of more fights, and a lot of them probably will be violent finishes. He packs a wicked good punch. He's got a decent enough submission game. He just needs to really get experience competing at a high level, because he spent so much time fighting at a low level.
Mm-hmm. Austin Vanderford, the pick, probably one of the picks of the week too, because that was not competitive whatsoever.
Up until this point of the night, I am riding high, baby. Safman is back, but it's largely downhill after Vanderford. But up until Vanderford, yeah, baby, we are killing it, and he did everything that we thought he could do, and just fought a good game plan, I thought.
Yeah, like, I mean, we'll pull up the stats here. 2 for 4 on takedown, 7 minutes and 21 seconds of control time, 102 significance, like 5-1 on the strikes. And yeah, that's all in 9 minutes of time. I was on the over 2.5, and like the entire time you're just like, oh God, like he's really beating the crowd. Like he's going full Dagestani on this guy, man. Like this is not looking good whatsoever. Credit where credit's due. Like, you know, everyone calls him Mr. Van Zandt. Guy showed up, and Nikolai went the distance in his previous against his previous two opponents, like half decent opponents, like Danny Barlow. Obviously, they weren't grappling heavy opponents by any stretch of the imagination, but and he did get taken down 4 times by one of them. I forget off the top of my head, but it wasn't like a thrashing like that. Good for Vanderford, and you know, with his whole situation and I guess his look and everything like that, they've got somebody that they can, like, you know, market a little bit for the foreseeable future, for a few years maybe.
I think they're just going to throw him to the wolves, though. But yeah, listen, Vanderford had a. You are Mr. Van Zandt. Nobody respects you. They don't care about your 2 state championships in wrestling. They don't care about your NAIA national championship in college. They don't care about any of that. It's just like you've become a novelty. And then in Bellator, he's fighting the best guys. And when he loses, like, they cheer for some reason. So him coming to the UFC, he is actually coming into his mid-30s. Not a guy that I think has a super high ceiling again. It's just he possesses a current skill set that's good enough to beat a guy like Nikolai Veretennikov. Veretennikov is a pure striker. Pure striker, largely competed out of the Texas regional scene, doesn't have a whole lot of international experience. You mentioned him versus Michael Morales on the Contender Series. Michael Morales is like 21 years old, and he took him down 4 times. Vanderford's a full-grown man, and again, just a much better wrestler. You always want to see a guy fight to his strong suits, and I think Vanderford came out, felt Veretennikov's striking in the early portion, and was like, to hell with this, let me take him down, and then he just utilized it best. Bit of a scrap almost happened after the fight, but for the most part, I think, yeah, this is a very clean performance for Vanderford. You saw him open up as an underdog. People jumped on that line. He ended up going off as like even money, slight favorite status, and then made his backers look good. So wrestling is the most dominant art, and you can be flashy and you can be tough and you can have excellent knockout power like a Nikolai Veretennikov. And if they fought 10 times, maybe a couple of those times he does clip them. But when you're big and strong, powerful, Vanderford fought most of his Bellator career at 185. In fact, I think all of his Bellator career at 185. Him at 170, this is where he can utilize that wrestling to its full force. And that's just be stronger than the guy, take him down, control him, put some ground and pound on him. So solid win. Again, can't take anything away from Austin Vanderford. Again, because he's almost in his mid-30s and he has that big name tag associated with him, I think some of the upper division guys are just going to start calling it. Everyone's going to want to fight him, right? And I wish him all the best, but it's going to be an uphill battle here.
It will be an uphill battle. Like, imagine Colby Covington, the things Colby would say to him. The lead up to that. And I mean, Colby can't win a fight right now. So it's like, that's not out of the realm of the possibility. Maybe not next fight, but like a couple fights down the line. Like if they want to keep Colby active, like that would be a matchup that, like, you know, even though Colby's long in the tooth, maybe that's a matchup he can actually win finally.
Yeah, I know. It's just the thing is you're 34 years old. You just won your UFC debut against Nikolai Veretennikov. It's like you're getting news articles and you're getting publicity and you're hot on social media and they want to capitalize. It's like, we're not going to give him any. Colby's a top 10 guy. Let's not give him anybody in the top 10. I was like, what's outside of the top 10? Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Vicente Luque, Michael Morales, Carlos Paredes. I wouldn't even feel super comfortable with Vanderford beating Randy Brown if we're being 100% honest. Although
Carlos
possible,
Paredes would kill him.
Would absolutely kill him. Renat Fakhretdinov, are you certain that he goes out and beats up Renat Fakhretdinov? I'm not so sure about that. Brian Battle, are you like super positive? Maybe because Battle like
Michael Venom Page.
Venom Page, Gabriel Baumfame. You think that's gonna be a walk? Michael Chiesa. Does Vanderford walk right through Michael Chiesa? And those guys are 20. Give him Nicholas Dalby. That actually seems like the most logical fight because
it's not high profile enough. Not after he got
not
after he got a dominant win like that.
Matthews looked really good his last time out.
And then this time you can actually like spend a lot of time like promoting the fight and getting Page to do collabs with like other people and stuff.
All I'm saying is that there's guys that are not even in the top 30 that give this guy Oban Elliott. You comfortable with him walking through Oban Elliott? You know what I mean? Like that, yeah. So when you're 34 and you're a high profile guy, yeah, they're all going to be tough fights. And do wish the best to him, but I'm not against fading him in the future. For this particular matchup, opponent can't grapple. You have all this wrestling background. Yeah, this is fine, but they're going to start knowing how to grapple moving forward. So the first one you got out of the way, but be ready for what's up to come.
Yeah. Get ready for what's to come is right, because Javid Basharat was not ready. And
he was. It's just the fighting game is such
Blonde Simon, I believe, is undefeated. My God, that was about as nasty of an end result there as you'll see in MMA.
I mean, he's looking at somebody in the crowd, so at least he's. Oh wait, no.
I mean, it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as bad as Bryce Mitchell. I guess over on the. We'll be breaking down the Karate Combat this week. I don't know if you saw who they have like Bryce matched up with. For the Karate Combat this week.
Bryce is on the Karate Combat?
Bryce Mitchell.
And the UFC is allowing him to do it?
I guess so. He's in a grappling match against an Israeli dude who's very vocal about like Israel after like all of the Hitler comments and all.
Karate Combat is like that. They're all about it. Yeah, they'll do whatever.
It's probably going to be very tense for good reason, of course. It's kind of weird to lean into that.
Javid Basharat, though, remember when Javid was on the Contender Series? He fought that Oran Cologne from Israel. It was the same thing. It was like that was like super.
Yeah, that was very personal. Yeah.
For Javid, like honestly, I know I bet him and I put him on the top ticket because he was a value guy, like minus 200 compared to some of those other like big favorites. And of course, we had a lot of big favorites losing. So
minus 260.
Yeah, he actually went off at like minus 210. So like a lot of money came in on Simon, and obviously they were right. But pick a side. It's like seeing him get brutally knocked out like that. It's like couldn't happen to a better guy. Like, I don't like him, but he was the pick. And this is one of those picks that I'm not gonna. I wouldn't kick myself and be like, man, I can't believe it. I thought he was doing everything right. He's doing everything right. He stopped the takedowns. Ricky Simone briefly got him down. He popped back up. We knew Ricky was going 2 for 11, 2 for 10, 2 for 13, his most recent performances. So Ricky's having a trouble with getting the takedowns and securing top position out of them. He shot a bunch of them on Javid Basharat. Javid Basharat gave up no top control and, again, was able to just routinely stuff the takedown. And then he's doubling them up. At the time of the knockout, Javid Basharat's outstrike him 20-11. The light kicks are working, the distance is working, but it's a lot of rangefinder weapons. Little jab, little right hand. Ricky Simone, and the same thing happened to Charles Oliveira. Like, he dyed his hair blonde, and shit, this guy is all of a sudden like a totally new man. Ricky looked 10 years younger, and he fought 10 years younger too. So I did notice his last couple of fights is that he looked disinterested. He's fighting some of the best guys in the game, so maybe that's the reason why he looked a little bit lethargic. But at home, in front of a hometown crowd, knowing that if he lost this, it was not going to be looking good for his career, he came out invigorated. I thought he was getting it worked. I thought Basharat was winning the round, but MMA don't care about none of that. Right hand, right on the money is all you needed. Paul showed you the picture. If Basharat would have had that kind of KO on my card, they would have taken 45 minutes to stretch him out because the doctor would have had a panic attack. So, terrible way to lose the fight, to lose your parlays. But Ricky Simone's a very likable guy, and Javid Basharat is a very unlikable guy. So in that way, the good guy won. Unfortunately, that was where the UFC card started to tank for me. And then, as I found out this morning when I watched all of them, it never really got back on track. A couple picks here and there, but as a whole, there was a lot to be desired.
There was a lot to be desired. Nick Klein, Mansur Abdul-Malik. It was a rough. I mean, obviously, Mansur got rocked pretty bad in round one. Nick Klein didn't look great by any stretch of the imagination, but we definitely Mansur shouldn't be going off at like a minus. I don't know what the final closing line was.
15 or 1600. It just kept growing.
He should not. He should not for literally any fight at this level. I don't care that he came back round two after Klein had given him some problems in round one. And that fight got ended pretty quick after it. But Klein was not a very this was an opponent that they had given you that you're supposed to run through, not really have any sort of problems. And he can fix these things. He's super young at 205 pounds, but anybody with Mansur tickets was probably feeling pretty uneasy. Why did I lay this much chalk on somebody? He ends up getting the job done, but round one was definitely too close for comfort. I'll say that.
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't tell you. When we did the show on Wednesday, he was minus 1,000. It didn't really make sense, and it never went down from there. It was 1,100, and then it was 1,200, and it was 1,400, and then I seen it go off at 1,500 right before fight time. Last time I had checked, anyways. I couldn't tell you. When you watch the tape on him, it's not that he's not good. It's just he's so green. And you look at okay, well, what makes him good? Well, athletic, and he hits hard. And it's college wrestler, wrestled at the University of Maryland. It's well, is that a good program? It's no, not that good. So was he an All-American? No. Did he qualify for any of the tournaments? No. It's so he wasn't a stand-up college wrestler. He wrestled a little bit in college. He's again an athletic guy, and he hits hard. There's all the makings of someone that could be a solid fighter. But when you watch him on the Contender Series against Wes Schultz, and you pointed out this at length when we broke him down on Wednesday, Wes Schultz is winning some scrambles. Wes Schultz is doing some damage, and that's a Contender Series fight where you show all your greenness. Go fight for LFA 2-3 times, win a title there, then come into the UFC. But no, now you're in the UFC. They gave him the greenest guy that they could.
Yeah.
Because Malik got 7 fights, or I think he had 8 pro fights, and then boom, in comes Nick Klein, who had a 6-1 record. He also should not be there, but he rear naked choked a guy in 30 seconds in front of Dana one time, so all of a sudden he has a UFC contract. And yeah, this guy is able to take you down. This guy's able to take a first round off you. I think I wouldn't say Malik is ever going to be great. I would say he could be good. He's certainly not good right now, but he could be good. But yeah, I don't know that he breaks into a top 5. He could be a fringe 15 guy, maybe 10, but I'm not. He's still got a long ways to go. It's not going to happen right now. Could happen in a few years, but it's going to have to be selective matchmaking. So Nick Klein, tough to say. He probably was the worst guy on the roster, on the current roster. And yet he gives you a go. What do you do next time? Do you have to fight the second worst guy in the roster? And does he have success as well? Not entirely sure. But if you bet him and you were holding a minus 1,500 ticket for whatever reason, yeah, I think you would have been feeling shitty about it first. But ultimately, guys that are going to be good find ways to make adjustments. And you can't discredit the fact that after a bad first round, he made those adjustments and kicked some ass in the second. So a good building block experience, but don't shoot super high expectations from just yet.
Well, yeah, and that's just the thing, is that you can get away with that against Nick Klein. As you move up the ladder, you're probably taking on one of the least skilled guys in your division there. As you move up, you're not going to be able to get away with that as you move up. I guess it is, middleweight, yeah. You move up the middleweight rankings, you're not going to be able to come back from that second round, because the guy that you're taking on is not going to gas out, fall away, disappear so quickly. But I digress. And when we move on to the next disappointment, which was Andre Fili, was looking pretty damn good, Cody. Looking pretty damn good until he wasn't. Everything was going okay, and I'm he got a takedown, great. He's in a guillotine. I'm that's not going to be too much of a problem. Oh God, Oh God, like he just never fought it, just kind of let it happen, and just all of a sudden it's fight over. Like,
Yeah, I did not have that in my bingo card, to be honest with you, that Fili would get guillotined. Losing, sure. Getting it worked, I get it. But getting guillotined, Team Alpha Male is notorious for their guillotines. Like, he's seen this move a million
it was
times.
kind of
And
stunning.
Milk got him with it. So going down to 45 is obviously the move for Milk Costa. No more 55, dude. If you can yoke out a guy like Andre Fili with the guillotine choke, obviously you have some physical strength. The numbers, Fili was looking good. The numbers, Milk Costa's outstriking him 27-7. There's a lot of activity from him. He's better at 45. Nice little guillotine choke win. Good win for Costa. For Andre Fili, heartbreaker, man. He got the takedown. I thought things are starting to go the way he wants them to. And unfortunately, a guillotine choke. But again, it's MMA. You bob when you're supposed to weave and you're unconscious. You shoot 2 inches with your neck out to the outside and you get caught in a choke. So tough one. Also tough because I like the over-under on this one, which obviously didn't hit. I like the over-under on Austin Vanderford, Nikolai Veretennikov, which early stoppage or not, it was near the end of the second round, and then they stopped it. Fili versus Milk Costa, there's 30 seconds left in the first round. They stop it. So in a different universe, we're getting out of those rounds. In a different universe, these fights may have a different identity, but unfortunately on Saturday night, this is the way it shaped up.
Yeah. I actually kind of didn't realize that the stats were like that for Milk. In the moment when he got that takedown, I thought like the round was relatively. I guess it didn't matter. He was going to lose that round anyway. But I was like, hey, we're ending the round on a good, like we can adjust. We're a veteran, and then it was just like over.
Well, also, I thought the key to victory, because this is how we didn't say on the show, Andre Fili is going to beat Milk Costa standing and trading the whole time. That wasn't it. It was take him down. It was you're a better wrestler than him. Milk got taken down 4 times by Nurmbayakis last time out. He's been taken down 4 times by Thiago Moises, whose wrestling is really not all that good. And Andre should do that. So he went 1 for 1 with a dig down. He got it pretty easy. That was the way he was going to win the fight. I felt good when he got it. Again, I watched it after the fact. I felt good when he got that, thinking, okay, now he's going to come out in the second round and know this is the way to do it. Do it right from the start. Do it in the third round. And then, boom, he just shoots and he gets into the choke. So, yeah, Dems de breaks, Paul Shaughnessy. Dems de breaks. Jumped back on track with one of the next one. But also, did you think he was going to go down like that? Maybe not. Should have, but maybe not. Most people probably didn't.
Aslan got fraud checked.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically... If I don't throw around those terms that often, but if you're going to throw around those terms, that's kind of what happened. Because the market really didn't give the much more experienced, much more seasoned Cutelaba any sort of respect. I mean, even the late steam at like Bet Online got him down to minus 225.
That's wild.
That is wild. Like it was like minus 30, like what? It was like minus 130, 140 when we were talking about it on the show, I think. All the late steam just kept coming piling in. Pretty wild.
Yeah, that is wild.
Yeah, there's levels, and I know Ion hasn't been. Always been pretty, but he's been able. The important thing for Ion, and like me, people may make fun of him and stuff like that, is like there's something to be said for holding a job in this promotion for that many
almost
years.
20 fights, yeah.
Yeah, like. Okay, you're not winning every single fight. Okay, you do have a gassing issue in a lot of fights. He seems to be slightly improving some of that, but it's just like the amount of fights that the guy has had in the world's leading promotion is just like, well, you gotta be of a certain level to be able to do that. And he's a gatekeeper. He's gonna teach some vet lessons, I think, to some other up and comers like this along the way, and I don't think he's ever going to really crack too far into like a top 15 or anything like that, but good for Ion. He keeps his career on the right track, keeps it hopefully and probably still in the UFC. Your thoughts?
2 thoughts. Yeah, no, I had Cutelaba this week, so I'm glad that he went out there and he did the vet performance. And you mentioned his last time out, it's like, oh, he tried to fight smart, but I that's what I appreciate the most about him is like he used to be a shitty new wild man, and maybe some of that still resides within him. But if he's willing to go out there and fight a better game plan, he does actually have a well-rounded skill set, and takedowns was going to be the way to win this fight. Aslan is a one-dimensional power puncher. He has no notable victories. We don't really know how his ground game is, but his only career loss, he got rear naked choked. I I think that there's a path to be exploited there. And Cutelaba was smart enough, crazy using smart and Cutelaba in the same sentence, but smart enough to use the winning game plan, use your wrestling. He did a good job of doing exactly that. And again, this is all hindsight stuff, but we did mention on the show, Ibo's best career win is Anton Turkalj, who he's got as a loss to. Rafael Cerqueira, how good did that one age, Paul? Whereas, Ion Cutelaba, Paul mentioned holding down a job for that long. He's 8 wins, 9 losses, and a draw in the UFC. Still has a losing record, but he has 19 fights in the UFC. Who has he fought? He's fought Felipe Lin's not that good, but Johnny Walker and Ryan Spann, Dustin Jacoby, Magomed Ankalaev twice. He's got a win over Khalil Roundtree. He fought Glover Teixeira, he fought Jared Cannonier.
There's also some of the losses look bad though too. It's just like he got subbed by Johnny Walker.
I don't think that's that bad of one.
I Johnny Walker big on that one. That was outrageous.
Yeah, Johnny Walker can't take a punch clearly anymore. But there was a time where he was going out there and getting some decent wins and was thought to be something of the division. He's big, he's long, he's got weird proportions. He grabbed a submission. Kennedy Njoku, the guy's fighting at heavyweight now, and he's 6'5" with an 80-inch reach, right? So these are weird fights. Tanner Boser, who he beat, is a former heavyweight. Felipe Lins, who beat him, is a former heavyweight. That Ivan Ursulan, he won a split decision over his last time. That's a big boy. And really a pretty decent fighter in his own right. So I appreciate that Cutelaba went out there and did the thing. The one thing I regret is you'd have to tell me the number, but what was the by submission prop on
900?
Yeah,
I was showing the people
that actually is it. That's not a crazy prop, even pre-fight. Because Ibo cannot grapple. His only loss is to Anton Turkalj by submission. And you knew if Ion was going to win this fight, he was going to use his wrestling and take him down. Well, if I can take him down, I can get on top of him. If I can get on top of him, and he's got bad grappling, who's to say the submission won't open up? So nice little arm triangle choke there from Ion Cutelaba. And at 9-1 on a submission prop, if you had it, smart thinking, man. It kind of it passed right over my head. I didn't really pick up on it. I thought this fight would get over 1.5, but it did not get that either. So props weren't great on this card. Straight parlays weren't great on this card. Got a few underdogs here and there, and thankfully, Ion Cutelaba was one of them. I didn't realize the steam dropped that heavy right before the fight time. That would have had me mad nervous, but it's the fight game. It doesn't matter what way the steam comes. It's how the guy performs once the cage door closes. And in this case, when was the last time Cutelaba was on a 2-fight winning streak? Woof. 2018. Yeah, shit, dude. It's been 6 or 7 years. Oh my god. It's been almost 7 years since he's been on a 2-fight winning streak. And in case you're wondering, has he ever been on a 3-fight winning streak? No, not in the UFC. Before he came in the UFC, he was undefeated, but not in the UFC. So he's fighting some of his best fights now. And he looks like he's 25, dude. I don't know what those Moldovan supplements are like, but this guy aging incredibly well.
Oh, I bet you the Moldovan supplements are great.
Yes, I can imagine. Apparently, that's where most of them are manufactured. So you're getting it straight from the source, baby.
Hondo P. Menifield defeats Walker, split decision. Very, very close fight. Very, very sluggish fight after round one. They kind of both set a pace that they couldn't keep and ran out of steam. I don't know. I wasn't really on. I was in the Discord primarily. I don't know if people were screaming robbery or anything for this because I don't think there's really much of a case to be made for it to be a robbery. It was just every single round was pretty close, and then it came down to round 3. And Menifield landed more strikes. Learning opportunity for Walker, who's got a massive frame. Has some decent skills. He just has to refine a little bit. He's still 25. He's an absolute baby at 205 pounds. But yeah, what do you think about this fight? Obviously, it was just there were so many finishes. You're oh, we get a decision finally.
Finally get a decision. Yeah, and in a fight that you probably didn't expect to be a decision. But I would say that there's nothing to hold your head down if you're Julius Walker and that you're making your UFC debut on about a week's notice. You were supposed to fight I think he started his weight cut at 240, down to 205, where he made it on the money, not even 206, on the money 205. It's a 35-pound weight cut in a week, making a UFC debut, coming in here, feeling the experience, feeling the live crowd, feeling the lights, doing the pre-fight media, signing the poster. The odds were kind of stacked against him, I suppose. But at plus 200, I still don't regret the pick. I still think it was the right side. And he's 25 and Menifield's 37. If they ran this thing back in a couple of years from now, it wouldn't even be competitive. But again, it's how you match up right at this very moment. Julius Walker, although I'm sure he does have good cardio, I think all those outside factors and the adrenaline dump and the nerves and all these things, the weight cut, I think probably it did slow him down after the first round. Menifield always slows down after the first round, so that one didn't really surprise me. The first round's very close, but I edged it for Walker. The second round, I think I gave it Menifield, and then the third round, I gave it Menifield. So I can see why he won the decision. I can see why people would think that it would go the other way. Not a robbery type fight. Very, very close. It just felt like whoever wins the third is going to win this one. And Menifield just kind of, he's had a lot more fights. He's a lot more mature. He's a lot older. He's fought at this level. He's fought some good guys. He kind of, put out that veteran performance. But again, I think Walker, you mentioned his frame. He's a guy that you don't really see those proportions all the time. He's a very hard worker. He's got an excellent, training system around him and a team around him. And I do feel like he's going to continuously just getting better and better. This is the division that really does need fresh blood and fresh contenders. And I think Julius Walker will work his way into, somewhat of a contention at some point. Again, 205 is very thin, man. A guy like that, that's a great athlete, starting to get some experience, could be problematic. Menifield, meanwhile, we talked about him at weigh-ins on the weigh-in show. He looks super deflated in this fight. He did not fight bad. It was a solid performance for Menifield by his standards. But again, at 37, that's to be expected of him. But his chin held up, his cardio. I always talk about how he, it really does start to slow down. When he needed the most in the third, he pulled through. So all the credit to him in the world. I did take an underdog shot on that one. It was a split decision. Could have gone either way. I think we were on the value side, Paul. But
100%.
it doesn't always mean anything. And in this case, we still end up getting the L at the end of it.
Yeah. You can't feed your family value, but
no. I tried one time. Just does not work.
They didn't appreciate it in the same way, right? But yeah, no, it's like a fight. If you have a plus 200 and a fight goes to split decision, unless it's just like a really bad split decision where the judge kind of messes up, you should never really feel too bad about it. You didn't win. It's not. There's the old saying that there's no value in a losing bet. Well, there's no money in a losing bet. Yeah, a Walker bet was not a bad bet by any stretch of the imagination. The Lord is good, Cody. The Lord is good. My God, this guy's an absolute psychopath, and I am here for it. Do you see him with Bruce Buffer leading into it? Like John Silva, just like standing, like, I don't know. You can't really imitate. It's almost like he was like half like about to cry and half like just so happy to be there, about to murder somebody inside of a cage in front of thousands of people. This guy's like a blast from the past, old school banger. One of the guys in our Discord had like a 200-1 John Silva featherweight champion future that he's sitting on right now. Is like $100 to win 20 grand, and he's looking
not bad.
Well, like Topuria just stepped away from the belt, so you are looking pretty nice to get a half decent win like this. You got to figure they're going to move him up to a higher, like a top 15 opponent in his next time out.
Well, if he
fights 3 or 4 times this year, it's very possible he gets into that conversation.
Yeah.
This he's awesome. I mean, the volume's low. Obviously, they've been doing a pretty good job of keeping him away from grapplers. That's the next test we have to see before he has any sort of like title aspirations. But he hits like a Mack truck, and it's always. It's like a you can't blink type of situation because you may miss a knockout. How do you not love John Lord Silva?
Yeah, I think he's quickly becoming everybody's fan favorite because old school, like you said, he's basically 145 Brazilian Tank Abbott. Like he comes at you, his hands are fairly low. He uncorks those bombs, and when he touches you, it's gone. And I think there was a lot of respect for Melsik Baghdasaryan as a live underdog this weekend. Simple fact that. Because at one point, John Silva was minus 650, and he came all the way down to minus 450 within the span of a day. So there was a lot of Baghdasaryan backers on the basis of solid striker. He's southpaw. He's a big guy. He's never been knocked out. This is a stiff test for John Silva. So for Silva to walk right on through, blast a guy that had very high striking defense, blast a guy that had never been knocked out before, and absolutely cook him, yeah, it's a solid victory. Melsik, meanwhile, he had pulled out of his last fight with a torn labrum. He's had hand issues. He's 33. He's been fairly inactive. I think his body's failing him more than anything else. But he has no submission game. He has no ground game. Is the only thing he really can pride himself on and be competitive in is this world-class striking. And a guy literally just walked through you with hands low and knocked you out for the first time. So it's I wouldn't say end of the line for Melsik, but competitively, it's pretty well end of the line. He can still fight if he wants, just not the level's getting lower and lower. And I just don't know. I don't think his body's going to keep up with him. And then for Silva, like you said, yeah, let's get this guy in some big fights and see what he's really all about. Drew Dober is a fringe contender of sorts, a top 15, top 20 type guy.
He can't grapple.
Class.
We need to see him against a grapple.
We need to see him against a grappler, but
before you put a strap on him.
Yes, but to the point to a 200-1 ticket. What's great about this Melsik fight is Silva took no damage, and because everybody likes him, it's like, why would you not just keep booking him? Why would you not? I can't say let him fight next week, but like, why would you let him fight 8 weeks?
He looks
6 weeks.
He looks like he would enjoy fighting next week again. Like he seems like that guy.
I think he would be down, and if you give him these contenders and he can get through them without taking much damage, you can keep him active. You mentioned if they can get him 3-4 fights this year. I think that's that. Ilya vacates the strap. Who's available in this division at some point? Give me Gene Silva versus what's his name? Bryce Mitchell, right? Because I'd love to see Bryce Mitchell be the first body in the cage, to be honest with you. I don't want to see
Bryce. You've already seen Bryce, the fate of Josh against Josh Emmett.
I'd like to see it again. I think Bryce Mitchell's a piece of shit. So I'd love to see it again. And I think it's a win that would vault him because Bryce's got a big name. He's got a high enough profile. He's a solid fighter. You can't take that away from him. Very strong and has an excellent grappling game. If you want to see Gene Silva tested against a grappler, Bryce is your guy.
Yeah.
If you want to see Bryce become the first body in the UFC cage, Gene Silva's your guy, right? Because he's going to hurt somebody very bad pretty soon. This guy just hits so unbelievably hard, man. So, yeah, he's basically, again, 145-pound Brazilian Melvin fucking Manhoff. Like, I'm so glad to see one of these old school type styles back. I hope, unlike the old school guys that would just get taken down and lose, hopefully being at the Fighting Nerds, they got this guy ready for everything, and he'll be a problem if that's the case.
Rob Font defeats Jean Matsumoto, split decision. Kind of the exact type of fight that you would you'd think from like Rob Font. He struggled with the takedowns as he is wont to
Classic.
do. I mean, you bet like we both were on Font here. I literally at this point in the week, this was my only bet. But somebody in our Discord informed me that there was actually some late steam coming in on Matsumoto. So I loaded up, as you can see right here. Sharing this tab now. Oh no! I double clicked by accident.
Oh, and unshared.
We'll be back. We'll be back up there in 1 second. But yeah, somebody in the Discord informed me that there was a massive like line shift in that fight. So I loaded all the way up. But yeah, what I was trying to share
was the line movement. What did it get out to? Last time I seen
it got back out to like plus 175, which is
oh shit, yeah. Last time I checked it was plus 140, which I thought, yeah, money's not coming.
So there we are, right there. That's what I had loaded up. I double clicked and it killed the thing. But yeah, like last second, it went up to 170. So I was just like, you know what? I'm having a bad night. I'm chasing my losses, and it was a split decision. Maybe it could have made my night even worse, but it didn't. And I'm thankful for the guy in the Discord. And I can't remember his name off the top of my head because there's a lot of different names in there. Nobody's using their own real names except for like me and you.
That's why.
Yeah,
seven lines are so phony though. Go back to that.
Dude, those bet online numbers, like there's so many of those fights that like last second they absolutely just steam. Like last second.
Yeah, but look at the opener. Look at the opener. Right. Plus 205. Like who the fuck set that? I want to sit down with the guy that set that line, right?
Yeah, but he set it and it gets So here's
yeah. That's what I'm saying is that it gets set at plus 205. They're soft openers. You'll hear people be like, I moved lines. It's like they're not taking full action when they just released the line.
Yeah.
It's like, give it a soft opener and see where they hit it. So someone puts a few $100 on Rob Font and then kabam, it goes from plus 205 to plus 118 within the span of hours. And then to start moving all of its movement from the regular public.
Honestly, bro,
after that, but
this last Bet Online does this all the time. You'll see in like the last, like the dying minutes before the fight, there's just a massive shift, massive steam. And then a lot of the other books basically follow that exact move. Like Matsumoto gets steamed there, right? Plus 175. Everyone follows that exact same steam. Now, what I actually think it
what's that? My bookie. Go to my bookie.
MyCrookie.ag.
Was that real? That can't be real, is it?
Don't play there. So they're linked. They're probably linked up to like what odds were at some point, like what the live odds were at some point.
Okay. I get it.
So they probably moved to like maybe that was like what the line was going into round 3, maybe.
Right.
That's probably what I would think. I think Font was actually a pretty big dog going into
looking at the other lines there for it, that's what they all look like. Yeah. Like
the Betway one looks pretty similar.
Hernandez going into the round.
Yeah, like you'll see that pretty consistently on
okay.
Well, you won't see it too much on this page usually on this page this week because there were so many first round finishes. But usually, yeah, that's very consistent that you'll see that on the day after looking at the board of the odds. I'm staring at this stuff like kind of all the time, Cody. This is my jam right here. This is me being a nerd. But yeah, I actually think that like a lot of the times with that late steam on something like that, and that's why I load it up when someone's like, "Oh, there's late steam on that." I think it's books covering parlay liability. There's a group out there that have John Matsumoto as the last leg of their parlay. They're removing their liability by offering people a better price on Font to kind of even themselves out. Because I imagine, you look at this Font number. Yeah, like to get it all the way down, the type of action that they were taking all week, they kind of made a situation where it's like they would need. That's just like a theory, but you see this very consistently. And that's why I always say that it's like, it's better for me because I like betting a lot of underdogs. It's better for me to wait on a lot of these fights. Like underdogs, most of the prices end up being better on fight day or moments before the fight. If you like the favorites, you got to get in early. If you like the dogs, wait until, limits are up and it's fight day.
Well, it seems like people are hammering always the favorite right before fight time. Like I don't. When was the last time an underdog shifted 40 points right before the fight started?
Pretty rare, yeah.
But the favorite shifts 150 points right before the fight. On UFC fights, we see it on regionals. They move 1,000 points. Fumi Nakuda, right? We had Fumi Nakuda this.
We're like, oh, he went to like minus 430, and it's just like. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. This guy's like very, very legit. And then, then by the time,
minus 1,500.
Minus 1,500. But at minus 1,500, frankly, it's not a good play anymore.
Yeah, he looked like a minus 500 or 600. I thought he won all the rounds. But yeah, no, it was a real fight. It was a tough enough fight. We had Juan Adams on the BYB fight. Hey, we swept up BYB. But Juan Adams, holy shit, dude. I should have watched the weigh-ins. Is that what he looks like now? Like, oh my
God. Luckily,
what a bad fight, dude. The other guy's just that much
luckily his opponent had to take a break.
He just quit.
In round 1, he
dropped Juan Adams. Juan Adams got back up and then the
arms over the thing is just like no mas. I'm done. It was amazing.
I'm quickly learning to love BYB. Yeah, we've had some success in the past, and the good times will keep rolling. But like, it is a hilarious product. Why do people watch Power Slap? It's the stupidest shit. BYB. It sounds stupid. It's the real deal, man. Anyways,
I had it up on one screen while I was watching. I think I was the only one in the Discord that was actually. I'm sure there were other people who were watching it as well, but like. I was watching it while I was watching the fights because obviously I had like the 4 plays that you had shared on the Best of the Rest show. So I was sweating those parlays as I'm getting absolutely wrecked on the UFC. I'm like, there's light at the end of this tunnel. We just need to get through. Those were some pretty violent fights and like weird finishes. I mean, the Duran one, like, I'm not even like, what happened there?
Well, he
I mean, I
got
guess
knocked down as well. Like, he went down the first. I'm like, God damn
that
it!
one
Why
just
did I
looked
pick Roberto
weird.
Duran
Like
Jr.'s
the
kid just because
finish of
Roberto
that one
Duran's in
just
there?
looked strange.
I think the guy just also quit.
Allegedly,
He also
allegedly,
just quit. The only
yeah,
guy we went 4 for 4. We hit some nice plus money there, but the only guy that like really took care of business is that Harry Gigliotti, who I don't know who the hell wants to bare knuckle box that guy. But yeah, listen, it's the fight game. And this was a fight that we both like. Rob Font on the basis of he's going to get taken down 10 times, and hopefully the live crowd and Matsumoto being young. He wants to fight. He's not looking to hold down Rob Font. If you want to take him down and hold him down, yeah, Rob Font's up Shit's Creek. If you want to take him down and try to hurt him, he's got a good get up game. Now keep this in mind. You got the stats there, right? Rob Font got taken down 7 times on 10 attempts. The control time was less than 7 minutes. It's like 6.5 minutes, right? So he's spending less than a minute on the ground every time he gets taken down. And so every time he would get back up, he would just go back to striking, stay in the pocket, way more volume, landing some good shots. I wouldn't say was a vet performance. Like it was the classic Rob Font performance. He gets taken down a pile of times. He works his way back up. And then when this guy's striking, like unless you've got fight ending power, he is going to outwork you numerically almost every single time. And that's what you saw here. I thought it was the right winner. I thought Rob Font won the fight. Split decision. Okay, sure. It was close. There was a lot of takedowns and control time, but I'm looking for damage, and Rob Font did everything right. Last fight against Kyler Phillips, he cashed as a plus 350 ticket. Apparently they weren't respecting him again because he went off at plus 175 again, and he cashes a secondary one. So it's all going to be about style clashes for him. But striker versus striker, Rob Font can hang with anybody. Striker versus wrestler that's not just going to keep taking him down. Again, he's going to give a good account of himself. It's that a lot of this division at 135 pounds. Paul and I were talking earlier. Oh, look at this. The 40th best guy in the division is good. It can Austin Vanderford beat the number 40 welterweight in the world? Like, I don't know. Bantamweight, oh, it's even worse, man. It's like the 50th best guy in the world could be an excellent wrestler and an excellent grappler. So all the respect for Font, 37 years old, fighting in the toughest weight class in the sport, coming in as underdogs against guys that are half his age, not half his age, but Matsumoto's 25, 16-0, comes in as a favorite. Rob Font's there to teach these guys lessons, and this was another one. Close fight, competitive fight. I thought Rob Font did win, and it was a rifle split decision.
But for Matsumoto, it's like there's nothing to be. His stock goes up too. It's just like, regardless of what the number was, because these guys don't care about what the number was. He went in there with a very proven veteran who had been in there with some of the best guys in the world. And frankly, if he did get the nod, I would have been upset because I was getting absolutely killed on the card. I would have been upset from that perspective, but it's like I've seen far more I was prepared to lose that decision. Happy I won, thought I won, but not nearly enough disparity in that fight for me to be like, robbery. Oh my God, I can't believe that happened. I'm rarely ever that guy anyway these days. I've just been, I've taken enough lumps on split decisions, all of that it's just like it kind of rolls off my back. But yeah, good for Matsumoto. It's like he'll be better because of that fight. He'll learn more about what he has to improve. And Font, on the other hand, it's like, 37 years old. This is his last little run. Make the most of it. Hell of a fight. Hernandez versus Allen. Allen made a big mistake. I forget what it was. Was it like a jumping knee, jumping something or other? Ends up losing position, and then spends a whole bunch of time on his back at the beginning of round 1. But then at the end of round 1, he reverses the position, lands a whole bunch of strikes, and I actually, frankly, thought he stole that round back. Round 2, very similar. Like this whole fight kind of played out to like the first time these two guys fought back in LFA. The deeper, if you want to be fluffy, you got to put nukes on that chin, and you got to get him out of there. Because the longer you let this guy set a pace and let him fight his pressure fight. There's it's almost like he's kind of like Merab. He gets more takedowns and more top control and holds position better and goes for more submissions than Merab, but it's like he cardio machines you. He sets a pace that 95% of the world can't keep. You got to knock his lights out before he's able to get those wheels in motion. Good win for Fluffy. Brendan Allen, I mean, I'm sure he would have liked to avenge the loss, but he has nothing to be upset about. He kind of was like, oh, can't believe he lost the decision. It was like, it was a very clear 29-28 for me, at least. What about you?
Yeah, Brendan Allen, if somebody created a league where they only fought one round, this guy could be the world champion over there. He took out Imavov, won the first round against Imavov, then falls apart. This fight, he wins the first round against Fluffy Hernandez, but falls apart. I don't know if it's cardio. I don't know if it's just his opponents figure him out and make adjustments, but Allen, the longer these fights go, always going to be a problem. And we talked about how Fluffy kills him in a 5-rounder. But this being a 3-rounder, could Brendan Allen make something happen in that second round, keep this fight close? It played out pretty much like a classic Fluffy Hernandez fight and a classic Brendan Allen fight. The first round, Allen's at his best. I thought he won the round. I thought he seriously hurt Fluffy. We talked about Fluffy potentially having durability issues, being hurt by Evan Shabazian, being hurt by Alex Pereira. This is another fight where he got hurt by Brendan Allen. But if you don't put him out, he's Mexican-American, right? So he doesn't have full-on Mexican durability, but it's still pretty damn good. If you do not put him down, god damn, he's got one hell of a gas tank. And that's his best weapon. Yes, he can grapple. Yes, he can wrestle. Yes, he can do those different things, but it's just weaponizing his cardio where he just continuously wears on you to the point that you fatigue or slow down or just have a mental lapse, and that's where he takes over. I'm a huge Fluffy fan. I just thought that Brendan Allen could maybe either catch him or offensively out-grapple him a little bit. He had moments in the first round. I thought he won the first round. But ultimately, after that, it was just classic Fluffy grinding on a guy. The UFC probably doesn't love it from a fan entertainment standpoint. Do you want to fight this guy being your champion and that he's going to take a guy down 50 times and control them for 12 minutes of a 15-minute fight and 22 minutes of a 25-minute fight? Maybe it's not the most fan-friendly thing, but it's a winning style. If you want to cash bets, that's what you want the guy to do, and you can't take anything away from him. I'd love to see him versus my other boy, Jacob Malkoun. Simply, who can do it better? But Hernandez is starting to. He headlined a card in his last fight, got the win. Now he takes a high-profile co-main event against Brendan Allen, who's coming off a fight with Nasruddin Imavov. He's getting right into that mix. How would Anthony Hernandez do, say, against Nasruddin Imavov? I don't know. If he takes him down, you think he can do it against anybody. If he gets chin-checked, it's going to be a problem, right? That's the kind of guy he's going to be. It's always going to be, he could get punched out, but if you do not take this man out, especially early, boy, oh boy, he is going to take your soul from you. So Fluffy Hernandez, quality victory. For Brendan Allen, it's much of the same. And it's hard to say, go back to the drawing board and fix this. These are largely the same problems that he has every single time. There doesn't really seem to be any fixing it. Prior to the fight with Imavov, he said, well, I had to go to France and I was hurt and I was sick. And it was a weird weight cut. And they drug tested me. They drew blood off me while I was dehydrated. And the time zone difference and the flight. He had a ton of excuses. For this fight in Seattle, it was all that's not a problem. But you saw him at weigh-ins with the sunglasses on. I'd love to see him taking them off. I bet you his cheekbones are protruded, his eyes are sunk back in black. I'm thinking at 6'3", he's getting older and older. I don't know that these weight cuts to 185 are for him anymore. And if he tries going to 205, he's gonna get nuked. So he's kind of in a weird place right now. There's no in-between weight class for him to compete at. So he's just gonna have to, figure something out. But I like Brandon Allen. But in terms of being a contender, that winning streak got snapped, and now he's all of a sudden on a 2-fight losing streak, and now you start wondering, if you ever want to be at the top level, you got to eventually be able to fight 5, and this guy's barely struggling to make it out of 3, so Fluffy does that to guys, though, so don't put too much stock into it, I suppose, but just classic, take your soul, break you down, Fluffy Hernandez type spot. If I could redo it all over, he was probably your top ticket guy. But that being said, you would have been sweating that first round. But then after that, you were all money.
And finally, we got Song Yadong defeats Henry Cejudo. Technical decision. Haven't seen one of those in a long time. At least in the UFC, we hadn't. Only 3 of the 5 rounds are actually completed. I'm sure the sportsbook customer service people probably had a pretty rough night last night with some angry sports bettors that would have been like, "Why did my bet lose?" Yada yada yada, so on and so forth. Just an ugly situation all the time. I mean, there's lots of people who are just like, "Oh, Henry wanted out, and Henry wanted to quit," and I'm sorry. And it's like, it's not directed towards anybody in person, but like, or in particular. It's like that was a damn it was a damn competitive fight. Henry's been to 5 rounds with a whole bunch of great opponents. I very, very much think that Henry couldn't see. He wanted out because he couldn't see. I get that. He's panicking because he has to fight Song Yadong for another 10 minutes inside of a cage in front of thousands of people. And he can't see at the same time. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, people are like, "Oh, he quit. He wanted out." It's just like, yeah, I wouldn't, question Henry's heart and character at this stage in his career. I don't know. I guess you watched the show this morning, or you watched the fights earlier on today. That was him giving he was like taking his full 5-minute break. The eye didn't look that bad right in that situation. I can't effing see.
Yeah, I mean the eye's bloodshot.
And then here's a picture that posted on social media today from his Twitter. Dystopia, soft tissue damage, corneal abrasion. He wanted a way out. I mean, it's got to be tough sometimes being a fighter in a way, right? Because Henry. I mean, look, round 3 was 25 to 30 in significant strikes.
Yeah, I thought the fight was competitive. I mean,
very competitive. Song Yadong was
but
winning.
yeah,
but that doesn't mean that Henry couldn't have won the final 2 rounds, and that would have been a very, very contentious decision if he did that. I don't know where Henry goes from here. It was a very entertaining card. And then the unfortunate thing is that this is what all of the Ariel Helwanis and the Luke Tom, that's all they're going to talk about on Monday on their respective preview shows and stuff, or recap shows, But that's not this entire card was pretty awesome. So it sucks that that's the negative, unfortunate incident in the main event is what steals all of the thunder from a card that was filled with a lot of entertaining fights, crazy finishes, so on and so forth. But yeah, Song proved he belonged. Henry proved to me he's still got it. He can still fight elite guys at 135 pounds. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, listen, I'm never going to say Henry quit. The guy's done everything you could ask from him. He's a two-weight class world champion in the UFC. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He's fought the best guys going. His last 2 fights are against the best. I understand all that. I don't think he quit. It's just, the fight's not trending in his direction. It's definitely a tough fight. And look at the eye damage, man. Who are we to sit here and say, you should have went out there and fought? Did I want him to fight? I had an over-under on this on this fight, which it got smoked when they called that fight off because 4.5 rounds hadn't completed. So did I want him to persevere and fight through? Yeah, but you can't see at your eye. And what's the point? And it wasn't his fault. He got kicked in the junk, right? And then he gets eye poked. Multiple fouls from Song Yadong. Mm-hmm. What if you would have taken a point from Song Yadong and then said, we're going to the scorecards? Because that's visible damage, okay? I've warned you in the back, right? I warned you about fingers extended. You blast his eye. I'm taking a point. And you've already fouled him, okay? You kicked him in the junk. I'm taking a point. If they take a point and then they go to the judges' scorecards, Henry wins the fight. Henry won the second round and there's a point deduction. Henry won the fight. They do not take a point. They go to the judges' scorecards. Henry loses a 29-28. So it's small little things. But I'll admit, Henry's waving, he's having a good time. Then on the microphone, right, with Michael Bisping, he's all, "Hey, Bisping, we're gonna be brothers now. We both got one eye." Haha. Then he makes his post-fight little message to Dana being like, "Yeah, let's run the fight back." But he did let slip in his little comment there on whatever he posted, where he's like, "Let's run it back. It was a good fight." I had him hurt. He had me hurt. Let's run it back. And that's where I was like, ooh, I don't think you had him hurt. I think that was in your head. He had you hurt and you just admitted it. Henry's hurt. He's losing the fight. He can't see out of the eye. He bails out, starts waving at people, and tells Michael Bisping, hey, buddy, we're buddies. I think that's what pissed people off. Yeah, them losing their bets, that's why they're mostly pissed off. But I think it's him just like clowning around and just like not giving a shit. You know how some guys, when they're like, you can't see, I'm going to call it. And the guy fucking loses his shit. You want to see that type of passion. Yeah. You don't want to see waving around, honey dicking, having a good time.
I was in the Discord. Like, you know,
the boys
type in like, if Henry actually wants to fight, he has to shut up.
Yeah,
he's like, I can't see.
Which is why people think
so loud. It's just like, you know, there's commissioners around. You know that there's, I mean, the ref's right there. He can hear you. So yeah, if you want to continue to fight, it was he didn't want to throw in the towel without. I guess it was kind of a veteran way. He wanted to throw in the towel without throwing in the towel to give himself the small little chance that he would get the win by decision if there was like strange scorecards. But
if there was a point deduction, then he could have gotten it that way. And he also made a comment where he's like, I need to talk to Jason Hurd. Like, why didn't they deduct a point? So it's like, well, is that what you were waiting for? But what makes it risky, it's a risky proposition, is that what if you know you won the first 2 rounds of the fight? It's a 5-round fight, and you know you're up 2. And the guy accidentally eye pokes you in the 3rd round. Why wouldn't you just play it up like Henry? I'm under. I can't see. I'm under. But you know you won the first 2 rounds. In this case, Henry was not up 2 rounds. So him saying I can't see was actually to his demise. But if there's an instant, if these are going to not be no contests, they're just going to say, oh, technical decision. And I used to be down for technical decisions. But think about this. What prevents you from winning the first 2 rounds, getting fouled in the 3rd, and then just quitting and taking your win and going home? So Song didn't do that. He was fighting for everything he had. Henry was, because it was 1-1, it did him no good. But if it's a 5-round fight and 5 rounds have not completed, I don't want to see a judge's scorecard. If it's 4.5 rounds if the fight got, accidental eye poke late in the 5th, most way through the 4th, I could accept it. But yeah, after 3 rounds, this thing is still anybody's fight. The live line, we saw it earlier, the live line when the fight got called, like after 3, is minus 350 Song Yadong. It's not minus 5,000 Song Yadong. It's still a fight. Still very much a fight, and it kind of got cut short. I kind of agree with Dana. I don't care to see it get ran back. But whatever. If they wanted to, then sure, let's do it. And if they did run it back, I would 100% take Song Yadong the second time around, because Henry going 0 for 3 on takedowns, where that seemed to be his best path to victory, is, now he was forced to strike, and striking with Song Yadong wasn't going his way. He was getting hurt. He was getting outworked. He just wasn't throwing enough. He's got all the skills that he could compete with anybody, but him beating anybody is starting to become fewer and far between. Last thing I'll just leave you with is it was a bare knuckle boxing match in Canada, and it was the first legal bare knuckle boxing match in Canada. So I'm like, I'm going. So I basically reached out and was like, I can come do media stuff. They're like, film the fight for us. Well, I don't film shit, but I got a camera, go down, and they made me like this pass I could hang on the ring apron. It's Bobby Brents versus Don Wanch, heavyweight bare knuckle boxing. These guys get slugging. First round competitive, second round a little less competitive. Bobby Brents is beating him down. Bobby Brents lands nice shot, but Donnie takes the shot, kind of opens up a small cut, round ends. We're going into the 3rd. I'm standing in Donnie's corner holding this camera because I want to get some sweet footage, and I have an all access pass. Why not? Donnie comes down. He sits down. He looks at his coach. His coach is like, Donnie, no problem. You got to get the jab. As he comes in with the overhand, you need to pivot off to the right hand. Donnie tells his coach, he goes, I can't see. His coach is like, what was that? He goes, I can't see. His coach goes, okay, don't worry. For this next round, what you need to do, Donnie just ignores it. He says, I can't see. His coach leans in and goes, shh, 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 shh. You can't see? You can't see? He's like, yeah. The ref does not come and check in on him. The ref, now a minute has passed. The ref's like, hey, are you good to go? Are you good to go? Donnie's coach is like, shh, like, keep it down. And Donnie, he looks right at the ref and he waves and he says, can't see. He's waving the fight off himself. So the ref walks over and he's like, what? And he's like, I can't see. And the guy's like, do you want me to get a doctor? And Donnie's like, no. The ref calls it off. And I have the entire thing on camera, okay? So then the ref's like, okay. So he waves it off. Bobby Brents walks over to Don Wanch. Don Wanch turns to him and goes, oh, fuck, man, I want to keep fighting. The doctors won't let me. The doctors won't let me fight. And I got the whole thing on camera. Like, what a fucking sack. I think that happens a lot, you know? And I'm not saying this is exactly one of those cases, but Henry seemed like, I'm having a good time. I'm fucking on Instagram all night afterwards. But he did not really want to fight in that moment. But who are we to say a guy wants to or doesn't want to do something? But you know the old saying, like, fight for my dollar? I know for a fact there's a few guys. I booked a fight this weekend on Saturday. The kid, it was 1-1 going into the third. He broke his arm, okay? His corner is looking at the arm between rounds. They don't tell the ref. He fought the third round with a broken arm, and he lost the third round because his fucking arm was broken, right? And then he ends up losing the decision as a result, 1-1 going to the third. And afterwards, like, they come right to us right away, and they're like, yeah, his arm's broken. We're taking him to the hospital. This kid, yeah, he's like 24 years old. He's a 3-2 amateur. He broke his arm in a I'm not getting fucking paid for this fight, and he still fought the round. Why? Man, because he's got it in him. Henry, at one point in his life, I think he would have. Lots of fighters on the rosters, I think they would have. In that moment where it was like, I can't see out of my eye, but why don't I just lie and say I can't see out of my eye? Because you see that all the time. He was very much can't see. Nope. Going home. Hey, maybe because it was like a bullshit ending, I get my win money too. Like, the UFC be cool about it and be like, yeah, dude, that wasn't your fault to fight ending like that. We're gonna give you a bonus. Fuck, we make some bonus money. It's like, no, not gonna happen. Bring him back, have fights for him, but he's on a 3-fight losing streak now. So the luster of Triple C is definitely starting to close out a little bit. If you were gonna say who the flyweight GOAT was, it's DJ. But if you were ever gonna, some people would say, "Oh, Henry beat him though one time. Henry won another world class or a bantamweight title in the UFC as well." Yeah, it ain't even fucking close. Demetrius Johnson's 3 times the fighter that Henry Cejudo ever was.
100%, bro. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, that's it. Again, it's like when we were always doing one UFC card a week, it's like if you lose, then that's it. You got a whole week to let it marinate and simmer and then try to get one back the other time. Now we're covering tons of stuff. So, like, yeah, you did a little bit bad on this card, you do bad on that card, then you just hope to do better on the next one. So, I mean, that's really where we're at. We got another weekend where we've got boxing and regional show MMA and another UFC card. And that just keeps chugging along Paul Shaughnessy. So I just want to apologize to everybody that's interested in these recaps of like why it's coming out late. I had a wacko schedule. Also want to apologize to Paul Shaughnessy. He was super cool, but he's like, just let me know when you can do it and facilitate doing this show a little bit later. And then you guys being cool with it. And then still watching it after the fact. So again, I really do appreciate that. Thank you. It won't happen again. And back to business.
I didn't expect an apology live on air, but it's all good, man. I know you had a lot of things on your plate, so I was just trying to keep the peeps informed. But yeah, no, we're doing so much stuff these days that yeah. You know, you can have a bad UFC card and you're not down in the dumps doing a recap because you're like, well, I got bailed out by this and that was actually okay. So it's you know, a little bit more volume can be a good thing sometimes. A little bit of extra volume. Like if you just absolutely sewer and everything, then it's an absolute disaster.
Yeah, but think about an NFL team. You play on Sunday, right? You lose, then it's like, damn, man, we're coming off a loss. Oh, can't lose again. Can't lose again. Damn, dude, now we lost again. Oh, and then you wait another week, right? But when you play like NBA or NHL or something, it's like, yeah, we lost Tuesday, but we won Thursday. Saturday, not so good. But Monday, we got that shit going. Like, I think that's more of everyday life. Everybody deals with ups and downs every day. Yeah. So, yeah, I enjoy that we're keeping active. And so far, so good. The regionals have been good to us to bail out some of these UFC woes. But, you know, again, it's just the ebbs and flows of the game. And hopefully we're back on top next week again.
100%, bro. It's a little bit of a lighter week, but like there's a bunch of boxing. And there's like an ACA card that we plan on breaking down, and yeah, the MMA scene is a little lighter. I mean, this past week there was like six cards with actual odds and stuff. I think there may be like 3 or so this week, which is still enough to keep us busy, but not to overwhelm us, I suppose you could say. But yeah, if you're watching on YouTube right now, you're interested, link is in the description. Hop on over there. The water's warm. There's a friendly bunch of people over there, sweating out bets, exchanging ideas, building a nice little community over there. So, yeah, all the information of how to get from the Patreon over to the Discord is in the. You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out when you hop on over. If you don't, we intend on continuing to put these recaps on Cody's Bookie Beatdown YouTube page there every single week. So if you just want to watch these, find out what we were up to after the fact, then that's cool too. Anyway, we will see you on Wednesday, Cody, for UFC. Your card this week, yes.
Yeah, but Wednesday? Yeah, okay, yeah, Wednesday, and then we'll do a regional show Thursday.
We can go earlier. Pat's on vacation.
Pat's on.
Do you want to do Tuesday? Do you want to do Wednesday?
You know what? Tuesday probably sounds good, but there's a good chance as soon as we stop this recording that I may sleep until Tuesday. So in that event, maybe not, because I want to make sure I got my.
Let's leave it on Wednesday.
Yeah, I want to make sure my research
extra
is tight.
time to do tape.
Perfect. Sounds good to me.
All right, we
just
had our meeting on the show right here. That is it for us. Hope you enjoyed this show. For Cody, I'm Paul, saying goodbye and good luck. Actually, not good luck. And see you on Wednesday.